packet.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, approved by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Commissioner Jacob to approve the meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, meeting minutes approved. Um, hold on. Chairperson's report, nothing in particular. Just lots of things are happening health-wise and good and bad. Did you have something, Commissioner Jacob?
No.
No. Commissioner Meyer?
No.
No. Okay, so,
Nothing, we can just keep moving on.
yep, so item 4, consent business, 4.1, approve Minnesota Department of Health Community Health Board Grant Project Agreement for delivery of the following services by public health agencies in Minnesota for children and special health care needs. And that was on page 49 of our general packet. Any discussion?
I'll move to approve 4.1 consent business.
I'll second.
A motion by Commissioner Jacobs, seconded by Commissioner Meyer to approve 4.1, the consent business. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Okay, general business. Karen, anything in particular? I see we're advertising more clinics in the
Yes.
newspaper.
Yes, we have more clinics coming up here in January. There's several that are planned. We also received notice yesterday that the 12 to 15-year-old population will now be eligible for the Pfizer booster vaccines. It just seems like we've just barely gotten them now vaccinated. Now they're eligible for the booster vaccine. So that is on deck also for us, which may expand our need to do additional community.
But
booster clinics.
okay, so not being of the medical thing, but I was earlier, you were supposed to wait a period of time before you got, quote, a booster.
Correct.
So is this still the protocol that there's
The protocol is what was 6 months from the date of your last shot. Now they have moved that up to 5 months.
Oh,
from the
okay.
date of your last shot.
all right, so
So it's been 5 months that they've been.
eligible or no?
Yeah, that age group has been receiving.
I would have to do the math on that, but we're probably getting close. Yes, because it was in May. So yes, it would be end of May. Because I remember we were kind of scrambling to get that age group some vaccination clinics done at the schools before school let out. So yeah, it was at the end of May, early June before when that was approved.
And a question I've been asked, is the booster the same? Is it just the same stuff and the same quantity, just another shot?
Yes, that is my understanding.
Okay,
It just boosts your immune system. As the months go by, your immunity wanes against the Omicron virus, or not Omicron, the COVID-19 virus, and so what they want to do is just kind of boost up your immunization by giving you that additional shot. So it just brings up your immunity to fight any virus that you come in contact with.
Although having had the Moderna shot, the booster was half, not the full.
Yeah, right. Correct. Yes. And I focus on Pfizer because everyone qualifies for Pfizer, from 5 to whatever age. But not everybody, not everybody in that age population is eligible for Moderna. But yes, you are correct on that, Commissioner Meyer. So.
And may I ask a
Yes.
question? Okay, so and I saw in the paper that the gift certificate had been extended.
Correct.
And
Yes.
I was glad to see that, but I thought it was a state did the state change what they were allowing?
Yes, the state changed the regulations. That is why we extended it and were able to extend it. So
right, we approved it through the end of the year.
Yep.
And it was a very short
yes.
time. Okay.
So yes, and as you all are aware, the Omicron variant is now the dominant variant within the communities that is consistent in Winona County as it is through the state of Minnesota and through the United States. So one thing that they did, some other news that they did release is with the masking. They did say that cloth masks are no longer will protect you against the Omicron, and that everybody should wear a surgical mask, or an N95 or one of the different types of N95 masks. So that is what it's.
But having personal family in the medical area, they're saying the availability of N95s now that the public is asking for them supply is limited.
Correct. Correct.
So would I rather have my medical industry have a supplier or my Joe and Mary, walking around on the streets? So I guess it's, yeah.
Yeah, and so like Mayo Health System now has it where they have surgical masks available. So the surgical masks like these are now available, are pretty readily available in the public for usage among the general population.
So isn't that basically an admission that we gave the wrong advice to wear cloth masks? All those, I mean, when other masks are not available, everyone had to wear face coverings, and now we're saying that they're worthless, more or less, right?
Well, I guess I'm not gonna get into like who is right and who is wrong.
Okay.
The piece about it is like, I always use this scenario. We've been building the airplane as we're flying, and we can't keep up. The science can't keep up. We're reacting to it versus being able to predict what's happening and then provide intervention. We're coming in after the fact to try and play catch up. So,
Yeah. I thought the deal was that Omicron is so much more easy to catch.
and that's what we're seeing.
That's
what the data is.
It's behaving differently than Delta was or what the original.
Yeah, there was I was reviewing some information over the weekend, and Australia has been one of the countries that's been on major lockdown for this entire. And their cases have just been pretty static across the board through the last almost 2 years now, and now with Omicron, and that they still have the same mitigation strategies that they've been on with lockdown. Their cases have just spiked, so it is that much more transmissible, is what we're seeing.
And interesting enough, of course, this same medical family was searching for masks for small children. They're going back to school. And she had Googled masks made in America. And she thought, or made in, USA. She thought that's what she ordered. And her husband asked her, what kind of masks did you get the kids? She had to look close at the box, made in China.
Well,
They were a better fitted
Even
mask than
3M
was.
is making theirs over.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it just, but we don't know the standards that are, it's an unknown. Okay.
Piece of it is, supply chain issues and all of the wonderful stuff that we've discovered all of this for the last 22 months.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, any other questions?
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second. Or do we need a second?
Well, there's different protocols on adjourning and such, so I'll take it. Commissioner Jacob, Commissioner Meyer, move to adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But see, Commissioner Jacob, I'm also catching this and
Yeah,
that's off. So
45 seconds, yeah.
we're all on a little different time. All right. Happy New Year, 2022. Who would have thought, that we were in this century? So the first item of business for our January 4th meeting is the election of a chair and a vice chair. And I would like to nominate Commissioner Jacob for chair.
I'll second that.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Commissioner Meyer.
Second that.
All right. We have a nomination for Commissioner Meyer. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations?
Yeah, I'll nominate Commissioner Ward.
Is there a second to that? I'll respectfully, I've sat in the chair for a couple of years. I'll respectfully, as I do believe in a rotation. So thank you for that nomination, but I will decline the chair nomination. Any other? So we have any other. So we've done it 3 times. All right. We have nominations for Commissioner Jacob. We have nominations for Commissioner Meyer. All those in favor of Commissioner Jacob, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Eh?
Okay, all right. And then, so that fails. So we have a nomination for Commissioner Meyer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. All right. So we've got that. Let's switch for now. Let's switch this way, I guess.
Try not to trip you.
That's right.
Or drink your coffee.
Yeah, don't drink my coffee.
And I want my clothespin. I do sit low. I'm a short person. You're much taller than I am. I feel like I'm sitting up. Yeah, well, there you go. Commissioner Ward, I want to thank you for your service and leading the meetings for the last couple of years.
Thank you.
And here, you can, well, I mean, we don't have to change that right now. Anyway. So our first order of business today is public comment.
Oh, we have a vice chair.
Oh,
We need a
yes, I
vice chair.
apologize for that. Okay, so election of the vice chair is our next order of business. Are there any,
Could I ask who was the vice chair?
me?
Commissioner Meyer.
um,
I would nominate Commissioner Jacob.
I'll second.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Commissioner Kavesi.
Are there any other, nominations for vice chair? That was the second time, right?
Yep.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I think we proceed to, I don't know, discussion? No discussion? Okay, so we're going to vote. All those in favor of Commissioner Jacobs, say aye.
Aye.
Right?
Those opposed, nay. Nay.
Nay.
All those in favor of Commissioner Kavesi, please say aye for your support.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Do I tap the gavel now?
I usually did.
All right, there we go. I'll say
We probably
Commissioner.
should shift one more time because if the chair needs to pass the gavel, it's easier if you're right next. We'll just rotate the chairs.
How high the chairs are.
Yeah, I moved it already.
We can have the U of M grads on this side.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
We have
there you go.
gophers on this side.
Gophers, here's gophers.
Yes, ma'am.
Although I do have an undergraduate degree from the University
Is
of
this
Minnesota.
mine? Okay,
That's yours.
well, mine's a graduate degree.
Yes.
so-
Well, there you go. Probably worth more. Okay, so
And you got you. You got you. Okay.
I think we can now proceed to public comment. We allow for up to 10 minutes total, 2 minutes per speaker. Please step to the podium if you would like to make a public comment and state your name and address and proceed.
Ron Gander, Winona County Sheriff. St. Charles. And I called Lewis and Chief Tiger here, Deputy John Nicholson, and a group that were out at a farm back on November 16th. John Bankford is a vet here in Winona County, and he had a medical situation that day. The ambulance was paged, and the Agribson family and a passerby and a hired man started life-saving efforts on him as 911 was responding. Chief Gator got on scene. They had done CPR for some time before he got there. He had his AED with him. They used the AED, I believe Scott said 6 times. And John is still with us today. So we'd like to recognize each of those involved in this medical situation, emergency. I will say that John is the one that called me. John Bankford called me and said he would like to have a recognition for everybody that was involved with it. And Jeff and I talked it over and we decided we'd come here today with some certificates for each of them. John had planned to be here. We actually were going to come last week and do this, but he had a couple complications. And I called him yesterday, hoping he was going to say he'd be here today. And he's got a bad cough and a cold, and he didn't want to expose everyone to that. So he said, I just want to thank everyone personally, so I'm doing that for him. So with your indulgence,
He's not on Zoom or anything.
I didn't think
Oh,
of doing that.
okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We'll start with Steve Eggerson. So veterinarian John Bankford was out at the Eggerson farm doing some work for him when he went down, correct? So they called 911 immediately, and Steve actually started CPR and kept it going until Chief Yider got there. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gordon Eggerson. Thank you. Will Stevens. Aaron Watson. John Hazelton. And Chief Yider. The thing I do want to mention too, it was an effort on everyone's part. I want to really thank Chief Yider for responding out there. This is well out of the city of Lewiston. This was south of Fremont. And when he heard the call go out, he didn't hesitate. He responded with the equipment, had an AED with them, had the knowledge to use it and used it successfully. So thank you to him for this great response.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. A question, standard protocol, do we carry what's the term, ADE in squad cars or?
We do.
Okay, and so Winona County, we have one in each squad car?
We have them in the marked cars that the deputies are all patrolling, and we
Okay.
don't necessarily have them in all the investigative cars.
Okay, all right. And the cold weather doesn't affect them? Does it affect the batteries?
Well,
That's what I've
we
heard.
ask them to take them in.
Yeah.
In this kind of weather, take them in their house at night and put them back in the car and try to keep them warm.
Yeah, because I have heard where the cold will affect, well, anything with a battery, it'll greatly affect it. So, good.
So
All right.
thank you for your time, but again, thank you to everyone on this life-saving effort. John Baker
Absolutely.
Really thanks.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
It's a great
Yes,
show of community.
Yes, thank you again.
Oh, and you were in the right spot. Are there any other public comments? Any folks wanting to make public comment to the board? Are there any other folks wanting to make comment to the public, to the county board? And just for folks who might be attending on the internet, connecting through Ring Central, please speak up if you would like to make a comment during the public comment period to the county board. Hearing none, we'll move on. The next item of business is approving the county board minutes from December 28th. If someone would like to move for approval?
I'll move approval.
Second. And is there any discussion about the board minutes as seen in the packet? Hearing nothing, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of approving the county board minutes as shown to us in the packet? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. The next order of business is to acknowledge receipt of the approved committee minutes. We have 5.1, the Planning Commission from November 18th, and 5.2, the Board of Adjustment from November 18th.
Move to acknowledge 5.1 and 5.2.
Second?
Okay, motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Olson. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Passing to acknowledge the receipt.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. So next is consent comments and approval of agenda. Commissioner Ward, do you have any changes?
I would like to pull 7.13
Okay,
for added discussion.
maybe we can make that 7.00. Anything else? And announcements or
No.
nothing else? Okay. Commissioner Olson?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Jacob?
A point of order, that should probably be 8.00 because
Thank you. Yes.
seven's our consent business.
Yeah, thank you.
So nothing else for me.
Nothing else? Commissioner Kavesi?
Item 7.10, pages that were switched and we need to place those or
Okay. And just, Commissioner Jacob, you had earlier before the meeting said that you were potentially going to pull 7.13. Have you changed your mind? Oh, you did.
Already pulled.
Oh, thank you.
I did.
Hold it already.
All right. Anything from Administrator Holte? County Attorney Sonneman? One? And that is what, an announcement? Or,
at the end of the meeting, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, the agenda is passed. So we're now to consent business. If I remember this right, we would ask Administrator Holte to read the consent agenda into the record.
Madam Chair, just for clarification, the board did not pull 7.10. It's just to note the modification of the pages, right? Commissioner Kavesi, did you pull 7.10?
We can pull it for discussion to make sure we get it right.
I marked that it was pulled as 8.01.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
Chair, should I read?
Please do.
7.1, award bid and approve contract for 2022 official newspaper. 7.2, approve extension of contract with Steve Hacken for assessor's office. 7.3, approve 2021 assessment of clerical corrections. 7.4, approve LD 214 premises permit application and resolution for Rolling Stone Fire Relief Association. 7.5, approve LG 220 gambling application for exempt permit, Friends of Country Climbers Snowmobile Club. 7.6, approve Minnesota Department of Health Community Health Board grant project agreement for delivery of follow-up services by local public health agencies in Minnesota to children with special health care needs. 7.7, approve renewal of grant and business associate agreements with City of Winona through Winona Friendship Center for advocacy and information and referral services to seniors. 7.8, approve renewal of grant and business associate agreements with Winona Volunteer Services for purchase of volunteer services. 7.9, approve renewal of grant and business associate agreements with Big Brothers and Big Sisters for social recreational services. Excuse me. 7.10 was pulled. 7.11, approve renewal of grant and business associate agreements with St. Charles Hometown Resource Center for volunteer services. 7.12, designate publication of transportation project county website, and 7.3 was pulled.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent of business?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? If not, with those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Consent business passes. We're now into general business, 8.00, which used to be 7.13, approve the WinLAC prioritization and public outreach project agreement and supporting sub-agreements. Commissioner Ward?
Yes, thank you. We have not gotten clarification through the legal system, as was discussed at last meeting, that this whole issue of vaccination mandates and tracking and offering option for testing and everything is still in through the court system. And until and advised at the last meeting, and Attorney Sonneman is here again, that we still don't have clarity, and it makes me very uncomfortable to sign something. They're saying because you can socially distance, But if we sign this as Winona County, I personally feel it's leading us towards a vaccination mandate path, and I'm not ready to do that to any of my employees or any of the sub-organizations that work through this. So I would say we still, we signed it, deleting that. If that's not good enough for MPCA, then we'll live with the consequences of what they feel. And I did, and I see, I think Emily is here. I did reach out to her, and she was trying to get clarification through the Office of Budget and Management why this was in there, when we've never seen this language in any of our public health contracts or any other contracts that we've been signing the last, year, why it popped up in a MPCA contract.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Jacob, you had your hand raised, and then Ms. Qualley,
I
you're
don't have
after
buttons anymore.
after Commissioner Jacob.
Our buttons for recognition.
Yeah, I understand that staff's position is that this doesn't affect us because of the social distancing, but it does because it's setting a precedence, and in future contracts, they can go back and say, well, hey, you approved it last time around, so you've set the precedence. So I can't support it with that language in there, based on, also based on the county attorney's discussion at the last meeting. So I won't support the motion with item 12 in there.
Ms. Qualley?
thank you, Madam Chair. So Ms. Zanone has been extremely helpful in trying to threads backwards as to why this language appeared in this contract with the MPCA. And policy number 1446, guidance document from management and budget, is where this came from. So the way things were left at the last meeting, Attorney Sonneman mentioned that other counties have expressed some concern about this language. The language was stricken, which was unacceptable to the MPCA, it being a state, through their contracts department, something that is uniformly being used. As of this morning, Ms. Zanone provided Kristen Anderson's contact information, and my suggestion is that we directly talk to the Office of Management and Budget to find out if their intent is to include this language in all state agency contracts, because at the present time, as you know, Bowser and some other agencies, maybe they haven't caught up to the MPCA utilization of policy guidance 1446 or 1446, but it isn't uniform, as Commissioner Ward has pointed out. But rather than waiting for something to go through the courts and so on, I would appreciate if we could be proactive in discussions with management and budget through both our department and through our legal department to find out if this is going to be uniform throughout the state, because that might be a different issue. So that is my request. It's back on your agenda, not because we did not recognize that you had stricken that section, but because it was not accepted by the MPCA, and we still need to try to accomplish this work. So we want to keep it moving. Thank you.
Are there any other, Attorney Sonneman?
I just wanted to update the board with the information that I have at this point in time. I did look at that Office of Management and Budget Human Resources 1446, and it came out in it was effective date of September 2021. So and it does say it includes contractors, but that is or I'm recognizing that that's a policy of the state. However, as I said before in our last meeting, this discussion has come up among the county attorneys, the elected county attorneys, and Sherburne County Attorney Kathy Heaney had distributed, and I haven't had a chance to look at it in depth, a 1963 opinion by the Attorney General that does not, or it says the state is not included in the definition of employer, which I think has connotations to the fact that therefore in a contract with a, well, such as the MPCA contract, it may not be effective in terms of that the state cannot say what the conditions of that independent contractor are. So I need a little additional time. I should have an answer for the board, and I'll share that at the next meeting. And I have emailed to Ms. Haney what her understanding of that is, because she's taken the lead on this, I think, for the County Attorneys Association. So it is statewide effect. Whether it's in other contracts, I don't know, other than the MPCA, but it's certainly something that got on everybody's radar. So
So I would move to table.
Second,
All right, Commissioner Ward has moved to table this item 8.00, and Commissioner Jacob has seconded. Discussion? I do have a question, but I want to let others go first.
Tabling doesn't allow discussion? What's our rules?
yeah, I think that's correct. If
Yeah, I think once,
discussion ends.
Yeah, most.
My question is just what's the timeline?
Right, me too.
How long?
I don't want us to lose.
I've got it here.
well, I can table it with the caveat that staff is working on, and we can't set a timeline because we don't know when staff can get the answers that we need.
I want to know the timeline of how long we can,
Yeah, what the deadline is for the grant
Oh.
application is what I'm concerned about.
And I should be able to have an answer. I mean, the next meeting is, well, not the 11th, because that's just next week, but
The
the
25th,
4th
25th.
meeting of the month.
Ms.
or- yeah.
Zana?
Yeah, I can clarify. The grant is not.
For the record, could you just state your
Oh.
name and
Sorry,
address?
yes,
Thank you.
So this grant is not in effect yet because we don't have a signature from Winona County. So it's just kind of hanging out in limbo until we do get a signature. So we still have the ability to modify the start date.
Okay, terrific, thank you. And for the county attorney, I was also interested in knowing the language that's in the contract. Apparently, the MPCA didn't want us to just strike it, but we have been told that because of social distancing, it's really not quite effective, but that is not specific, or, that's, you'd have to go reinterpret the rule. So
Right.
if we specifically or added that language, could that also be acceptable? That the nature of this project is that we know that our individual contractor can social distance. And so could we be specific about that in the language?
Well, point of order, this is,
Yeah.
this is,
We're tabling it.
that our rules state that we've got a tabling, that we're handling, laying it on the table, and it's not debatable.
Yep, okay. So should we-
just
Vote
seems
on
out
it.
of
Would you like to vote?
Yes.
that I shouldn't have to require it or request it. That should be,
Thank you, Commissioner Jacob, for pointing that out. So Commissioner Ward has made a motion to put this on the table. All those in favor? And it
Aye.
was seconded by Commissioner Jacob.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Hey,
Nay. Okay, motion has failed. So shall we continue with discussion? Are there other thoughts?
Well, I think you kind of didn't have a question on the table, but I heard it.
Oh,
The question that you had.
my question, my
About
question.
the specifics of, I would prefer that it be more specific. However, I think that the 1963 opinion of the Attorney General, which apparently hasn't been overturned, but again, there's more research to be done, would also have that principle that the state could not dictate to certain conditions that contractors have to abide by. So I think that's the more pressing issue here. But I would be very supportive of more detail, yes, in those contracts, rather than assuming things. So, yeah.
So I move to put this item on agenda in January, is it the 24th or 25th? What, the 24th? for an update if we've obtained information from county attorney and MPCA as to the details of state mandates.
I'll second the motion.
Like further discussion, I have,
I don't know if
Talk-
that's allowed.
What? I think it's allowed once
Yeah,
it's on,
it's
the motion is out there.
Yes.
I have communicated with Ms. Qualley by email. And now that we have a name from MPCA, I can also work with them. But again, the focus would be on the legalities of this provision, so.
Madam Chair, the management and budget contact was what I provided earlier that was sent to us from Ms. Zanone. So just trying to find out if this is going to be used consistently throughout other contracts, and that was an issue that the board has also recognized. Thank you.
I got a
Mr.
question for Ms. Qualley, and maybe I'm still in the Christmas spirit, but was that Hans Christian Andersen? Or just Christian Andersen?
It was Kristen.
Kristen,
It
well,
was
that's
Mrs.
close.
Claus.
Okay.
Commissioner Kavesi, did you have a comment?
Not on this motion, but I wondered if we change the language as you suggested for section 12 to add that the social distancing is implemented by the contractor, then would this contract be acceptable?
Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. Trying to put some new language in there that we don't even know if by this case that Attorney Sonneman is relating to, if they even have the authority to direct us to do that. So I would say allow Attorney Sonneman and staff to look and get clarification from the state of Minnesota, the budget office, and the legal realm. I don't feel we should be crafting new language to make it work.
Commissioner Jacob.
Yeah, I would support Commissioner Kavesi's proposal here if we hadn't already tried at our last meeting to modify this and have the MPCA come back and say, no, you can't modify it. So I feel like, doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results would be just consuming people's time unnecessarily.
Mr. Kavesi, and then it looks like Ms. Zanon wants to speak again.
Okay, what I'm suggesting is that while our attorney is checking on the other legal aspects, that we could also check with MPCA to see if that change of language would be acceptable. And that way we would come back with more options at our next meeting. That's what I would propose.
Thank you. Ms. Zanon.
So we do have an option, there's the joint powers agreement, the agreement is part of this contract, but we also have a separate document, it's the work plan. The work plan can include language that would say staff participating in this would, apply social distancing. So by including it in the work plan, that's how you would basically employ social distancing throughout this project. And it would be anything in that agreement, in that number 12.
Commissioner Ward.
I understand that you're talking social distancing. You're still talking about playing with a policy that the legal system has not approved or thought through if we're going to mandate these things or not. Social distancing is a part of that mandate philosophy. And yes, the people out in the field gathering the water samples can socially distance, but then when you come together to discuss or collect or meet in a meeting to work on this grant, are you going to hold yourselves to social distancing, or are we going to be thrown into the mandated vaccinations? Because it'll come to planning, it'll come to Sheila, it'll come to Emily to do something with the results. So then are you going to stand by the social distancing guideline? And I guess I don't want to go there until we get clarity from the legal system, what is and isn't. And actually, I think this whole issue warrants contacting our local legislators. I don't know if the Senate and the House are in agreement that the state of Minnesota MPCA should be putting this in our contracts. It's a very undetermined philosophy where we're going with this stuff.
Mr. Kavesi.
Yeah, I just feel like we've put a lot more politics into this than is worthwhile. At all of the WinLAC meetings, we follow the county policies, which since we're under an emergency designation, we do follow social distancing and masking requests. Not requirements, but we request that people wear masks. So all of the meetings would follow the county policy, which right now does include those issues.
Point of clarification, that group
Ward?
is multiple counties, so does Wabasha, Olmsted, I don't know if they all have, I don't know that our policies are in unison. But Commissioner Kavesi, you're saying because the meetings are held in Winona physically, that we're following the Winona County?
They're hybrid meetings, so
Okay, all right,
generally, people from the outlying counties do not attend in person. And generally, several people, 2 or 3, including staff, attend in person.
Mhm.
And at the in-person meetings, we follow county policies.
Winona County policy.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Olson?
I'm going to support the motion on the table until we get some legal clarification. And if legal clarification says that we have to accept this or not or reject it based on the language that is provided, then I would support the grant. So I will just leave it at that.
Other comments? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of Commissioner Ward's motion to put this on the agenda for the 25th, 6th,
4th, I believe. was
24th?
The clarification.
All right, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay,
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Ward, yes.
To throw another wrinkle into the whole thing, how many of our agreements are, because it says right up on the top corner on page of our agenda, like 146. I don't, maybe I've missed it. I don't remember, but up in the upper right-hand corner on that page, it says Joint Powers Agreement. Is this something different that we're going into with these contracts? I don't remember. And joint powers have a lot of different ramifications and indications and things like that. And I know because I sit on the MCIT board, and when you start talking about joint powers agreements, that's a whole nother entity that you have to cover insurance wise.
Can we
And-
let Ms. Harms respond first, Commissioner Jacob, and then you?
Yes, thanks, Commissioner Ward. Yes, this
For the record, could you state your name?
Winona Farms, Winona County Water Planner, living in Trimble, Wisconsin. Joint powers agreement, that's just the normal language that the MPC uses in their agreements with local government entities. Joint powers agreement doesn't mean it's a joint powers board, just means that it's a joint powers agreement. And I know Karen Sonoman can explain that there's different levels of joint powers agreements, but
Absolutely.
that,
Yeah.
I know that kind of, I look at that too, and oh, yeah, but it is just what they usually use at, and it's on the top of every agreement.
MPCA.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacob?
It's just point of order. Once we voted on
We
something.
did vote on it, yes.
The discussion's over, and if Commissioner Ward has questions, she has every right to ask those questions to whoever she needs to after the meeting, then to, it's not on our agenda, and we should be on.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacob. All right, moving on to what was 7.10, which is now 8.01, has to do with the grant agreement with the Advocacy Center of Winona. Commissioner Kavesi?
Yeah, as I was reading through this on page 110, the introduction to this clearly describes that the contract is for the Advocacy Center of Winona. I believe the amount is incorrect on page 110. And then if you turn over to page 111, it says Winona County Health and Human Services, hereafter referred to as county, and Big Brothers Big Sisters, hereafter referred to as contractors. So this page is incorrect. It needs to be a contract between HHS, Winona County Health and Human Services, and the Advocacy Center. It looks like a page was just shifted because page 111 is a duplicate of page 94, which was the previous agenda item, which did deal with Big Brothers Big Sisters. The next page, Commissioner Meyer and I were talking before the meeting, and I noticed that the contract wording was wrong, and she noticed, probably more importantly, that the amount was wrong. At the top of page 112, it talks about the monthly payment is $1,250. That's again referring to the amount for the Big Brothers Big Sisters rather than for the Advocacy Center. So looking through this, I didn't notice any other pages that may have been shifted. But I think we need to look through the whole contract and make sure that it does clearly refer to the Advocacy Center and that it has the correct amount inserted. So that was my concern.
Thank you. Mr. Jacob?
Is this time sensitive? Could we have this come back at our next meeting with the corrections made and approve it then?
Yes, I'm okay with that. We can make those changes and.
For the record,
For the
Ms.
record,
Donna,
I'm-
Ms. Sanders, please come to the podium so everyone can hear you, and you're on the recording.
Yeah, so, for the record, yes, we could have this come back, either on the 11th or the 24th. It's not time sensitive.
Through consent would be fine with me.
I'm comfortable with that. Okay,
Yeah, it was just some pages got shifted.
so through consent, we will bring 7.10 back at the next meeting, which is next week. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think that brings us to 8.1. Review, discuss, and or potentially approve the letter for the Winona Workforce Development Board, a Good Jobs Challenge Grant. And we had asked at our last meeting that we actually see a proposed copy of the letter, and I see Ms. Reitman is on Ring Central. I assume we could look at the document, which is on page 160, and I don't know if we need a presentation or if there are comments.
Well,
Commissioner Jacob.
I had asked, I guess, to delay this until we, actually saw the language, and it looks fine to me. I'm good with moving to approve it as is.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Jacob has moved to approve 8.1 and Commissioner Olson has seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Ward.
I have a question. Where is this funding coming from? Who does this letter really going to gather, support and then get funding?
Ms. Reitman, would you like to answer that?
It says
Yes.
federal and non-federal funds to expand, but do we have a specific source?
Yes.
We do. Yep. Can you hear me this time?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning. Ginny Rittman, Executive Director for Workforce Development, Inc. The funding is through the Economic Development Administration, the Federal Economic Development Administration.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any other questions or is there any other discussion? Hearing nothing, would those who are in favor of approving 8.1 signify by saying aye? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay, 8.2, discuss or appoint Citizen Advisory Committee volunteers. Commissioner Jacob.
And part of the reason that I had proposed waiting until this meeting, as I do every year, is to let the chair make the appointments to Planning Commission, and has brought to my attention that Mike Flynn had every intention of reapplying. So I did reach out to Mike because he sits on our Planning Commission, and he said he did not see any correspondence. I'm sure there could have been an email that went out, but no different than a phone call, and you leave a message. If the person does not respond, that's not adequate to say that contact was made. It was a one-way contact. So unless and until he responded, either U.S. Post Mail, email or, by phone, I feel like he certainly had every intention of, he thought it was 2 3-year terms, and it turns out it was 3 2-year terms. And he said he did not see any correspondence. So I feel like,
Other comments? Commissioner Ward?
In regards to that, yes, our policy has been to reappoint when it's a 2-year timeline. And I would advocate strongly that Mike Flynn, because of his experiences in county and township with not only planning and zoning, but comp plan and everything, that he would be a valuable asset to lose. And if he is willing to continue to serve, I don't know if we need to officially see that in writing. I guess he shared that with Commissioner Jacob.
Any other comments? Otherwise, I do have some. Commissioner Kvesi?
Yeah, I'm looking at Citizen Advisory Committee's policy 1.5, and it talks about the appointment process. And it says appointments to the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment will be done in accordance with the zoning ordinance. And then it goes on to say, with the exemption of the Planning Commission, all members of advisory committees whose term is expiring will be considered before any new applicants for reappointment to their respective committees. I just wanted to point that out, that our policy actually for reappointments excludes the Planning Commission for an automatic reappointment. I do respect the services of the people who are reappointing or reapplying, but our policy actually, is that a current policy? I see.
Administrator Holty, would you like to respond?
I just wanted to note that we did repost, and I know that Mr. Flynn was contacted to make application if he's still interested. The policy allows you to still select people who apply after the initial application process. So you would have that ability if Mr. Flynn did put it in through this current posting. So you could wait until the January 25th meeting and then look at that group if you so wish.
Any other comments? I also did reach out to Mike Flynn and speak to him because it seemed to me at the last Planning Commission meeting that he was unaware of the fact that his position was considered open. He said something similar to what it sounds like he told Commissioner Jacob. And honestly, this is something that we have observed in the time that I've been on the board and in the time prior to that. So I am inclined to, if it is possible, and it sounds like it is, to reappoint Mike Flynn, even though we don't have his application in hand. I am, if the board is in agreement, I would be happy to go ahead and make the reappointments of both Mark Clark and Mike Flynn to the Planning Commission today. Number one, I want to make sure that it's fine. And then number two, I would actually like there to be a vote, and I will abide by that vote. So number one, it sounds like it is allowed.
Technically per policy.
Okay. And number two, I actually would just, even if it's a straw vote, I would like to hear those who would be in favor of reappointing both Mark Clark and Mike Flynn to the Planning Commission.
Yes.
I produced that based on past practice, and I would just like clarification. So everything but the Planning Commission
Says,
is subject to that?
this is under the heading of appointment process. And it says, with the exception of the Planning Commission, all members of advisory committees whose term is expiring will be considered before any new applicants for reappointment to their respective committees. If the member wishes to serve on another committee, they will be treated as a new applicant. So in the zoning ordinance, it gives us information that people need to live in the city or in a rural area and things like that. But in this policy 1.5, which deals with citizen advisory committees. It tells us a slightly different that, with the exception of the planning commission. We still have the right to do that for the planning commission, but our policy says it's not automatic.
Okay, so I was in the middle of asking for a straw vote, but Commissioner Jacob.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so Commissioner Kvesi?
I don't have any comments. I'm just saying, it is in our policy to not automatically reappoint planning commission. Not sure why, but
So for the record, and I don't know if other further action needs to be taken, I would select Mark Clark for reappointment and Mike Flynn for reappointment to the Planning Commission. And we would consider those two positions filled. Okay. So do you want to do the rest just going through order? In the order that they're listed in the packet? Okay. So Board of Adjustment, 2 vacancies, 3 applications. There's a reappointment for Elizabeth Hublin. Would someone like to move to reappoint Ms. Hublin?
I move to reappoint Elizabeth Hublin.
There's
Second.
a second. Is there a discussion on this particular candidate? Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. I have a question. I don't know if Kay Qualley is still on.
Yes,
Will there
ma'am.
be- I guess we won't have, well, we may have a new, because we still have a vacancy there, the training for Board of Adjustment and Planning. Is there anything planned to give additional training to those 2 committees?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Ward, I believe that we have something on the schedule for the evening of the 17th with the legal department and our department. So we're obviously going to want to have the other application for the Board of Adjustment, since the remaining 2 applicants lived in the borders of a municipality and therefore are ineligible.
So you may want to reschedule that training till we get a new person appointed to the Board of Adjustment.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That
And we
was,
want to do that as quickly as we possibly can, of course.
okay, thank you.
And when do we think that would be, that we would have the applicants?
We
Administrator Holt,
should
please.
have the applications to you the week before the 25th.
Okay. So we will go without for a little bit.
And just also for clarification, January Planning Commission meeting, Mike Flynn is good to sit in and participate in that meeting, correct?
He can participate, however, he cannot vote. He has to be in the official capacity of being appointed to the committee. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
He's-
Thought I
Yeah,
just did, man.
Yeah.
No, I just forgot the motion you just did. I'm sorry. My apologies. Sorry.
Yep, so he
Commissioner
would-
I just
Jacob.
wanted to hear that verification
Yes,
on record. So
my apologies.
All right. So did we get a second? We got a motion and a second for Ms. Hublin? And we were on discussion. Okay, so is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of reappointment of Elizabeth Hublin to the Board of Adjustment signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. We'll be waiting on the second position until later in the month. Okay, Health and Human Service Advisory. There are 2 vacancies, 3 applications, and there were no reappointments. So is there any discussion? Ms. Ward.
Madam Chair, I would say, looking through the applications and then how all the pieces move with all the committees, I would recommend for Health and Human Services, Jerry Obigelow and Mary Escola.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there discussion? Motion by Ward, second by Commissioner Jacob. Hearing no discussion, so would all those in favor of appointing Jerry Obigelow and Mary Escola to the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Economic Development Authority, 2 vacancies, 4 applications, no reappointments. So are some of these positions ex officio and non-voting?
It looked to me, when I looked at the list, looked like there was 1 vacancy among the volunteers and 1 vacancy in the ex officio capacity. So that is a total of 2, but it sort of changes who we can
I think
choose.
Lucy McMartin had expired her term.
Right.
Correct.
Ms. Qualley? Anything?
Madam Chair, sorry. Yes, Commissioner Olson is correct. So Jim Verkota, our outgoing chair, was term limited out and was a full voting member, and ex officio Lucy McMartin, Community Development Director of the City of Winona, was also term limited out. Additionally, for information that was provided to Ms. Holte yesterday, Nathan Sarvey, an additional ex officio, has resigned his position due to a new job and scheduling conflicts. So actually, not that there's a limit or that the ex officio would have to be filled there, but at the present time, 2 of the 3 are going to be vacant ongoing.
So we have
Thank
1 voting and 2 ex officio. Administrator Holte, can we do that appointment, the second? We can do that today? Okay.
We have 2 ex
We-
officio appointments, excuse me.
Commissioner Kavesi, yes, and then Commissioner Jacob.
We have 2 ex officio appointments open.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Jacob.
So do we appoint each person, whether they're ex officio or voting to that particular position?
That is how it has, that is how they serve. Yeah.
I would move to put Ken Fritz as the voting member.
I'll second that.
Right, Commissioner Jacob has moved that we make Ken Fritz be the voting member on the EDA. And that was seconded by Commissioner Ward. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, we have 1. Now we have 2 ex officio positions, having filled the 1 voting position with Ken Fritz. Mr. Ward?
Point of, do they, ex officio, do they need, did we have any requirement that they have to serve in some capacity in another level of government, or I don't recall that we do.
No.
Okay, so then with that, I would move to put, I don't know how they feel if they're serving on a committee and they can't vote, but I guess we could reach out to Sadie Newman. It was her number 1 choice.
Yes.
So if she's willing to serve in an ex officio capacity, I would move to put Sadie Newman on the EDA.
We have 2 non-voting positions open, just the 1? All right, so there's a motion by Commissioner Ward to appoint Sadie Newman in an ex officio position, and we would be looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Olson. Is there discussion? Commissioner Kavesi?
I have a question. Typically, we've had the city of Winona involved in this. I would hate to lose that contact.
We still have Scott Sherman.
Scott Sherman's on the committee.
It doesn't show it there. It shows, I have it here.
Madam Chair?
Ms. Qualley?
Yes, yes, to confirm, Scott Sherman, who's the current mayor, is one of the ex officio members and is active on the EDA.
And we still need 2 other ex officios.
Yes, because Nathan Sarvey has resigned.
Okay. All right, that takes care of my question. Thank you.
Okay, so there was a motion and a second for Sadie Newman. Any other discussion? Those in favor of appointing Sadie Newman to the Economic Development Authority in the ex officio capacity signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. So is there interest in filling the second ex officio position with one of the two remaining
Make
candidates?
a motion, Linda Soderstrom.
Okay. Commissioner Olson nominates Linda Soderstrom. Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Kavesi seconds. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, but all those in favor of Linda Soderstrom signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And nay. Okay. We are on to the Extension Committee. There are 4 vacancies and 3 applications were received. They are all reappointments.
I would move to reappoint Melinda Crowe, Susan Nielsen, and Teresa Grosso.
Second.
Commissioner Jacob has moved to do all 3 reappointments, and Commissioner Olson has seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of those 3 reappointments to the Extension Committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're then. Parks and Environment Committee. So there were 3 vacancies and 3 applications were received, but 2 of those candidates have already been taken to other positions, so there's really only 1.
Right,
George
so
Howe.
yeah.
Nominate.
Okay, Commissioner Olson moves to nominate George Howe.
I'll second.
Commissioner Ward seconds. Any discussion? Hearing nothing, would all those in favor of appointment of George Howe signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we need to advertise for two more committee members.
That's currently being done. Yeah, that's
Thank you.
currently being done.
Okay, Personnel Board of Appeals. There's a vacancy and there were 2 applicants. Mr. Obigelow has been assigned to Health and Human Services.
So I would move Rick.
Pospisil?
Yeah, I apologize not pronouncing the name, to the Personal Board of Appeals.
Okay, is there a second? I would second that. Oh, is it,
I'll second it.
Commissioner Jacob has given us a second. Is there any discussion?
I would just see that Mr. Papashol's number 1 pick was on the Sempra Board of Commissioners, so. I'd rather give him his first pick than the second pick.
Mr. Ward?
And it's kind of by order that we're going. I have very strong feelings for the Sempra that Amanda Headland would be the best pick. And of course, it was her only, so it was her number 1, whereas Mr. Poskopal had, like 5 rankings. So I would strongly advise Amanda Headland with her experience and contacts in the community to be a Sempra board member. And Personal Board was his second pick, but I think he had a total of 5 picks.
I have a question. We appointed someone in November and they served in December and then it faded out. Was that person contacted? I believe in her application in November, she said she would be willing to continue to serve. Did we have any feedback on that?
Yes, per the request of the board at the previous meeting, we did reach out and she did submit an application.
So she is in the mix for this.
She
Right
will
now.
be on your agenda for the 25th.
So if we appoint Mr. Pospisil, does that mean we cannot reappoint that individual?
Would this be similar to what we just discussed, where you could reappoint someone who's a current member?
Our rules allow that. What was the individual's name?
Meg Krinky.
I can't remember the last name.
Krinky, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Commissioner Ward, did you nominate Mr. Pospisil?
Yes, I had a discussion with him. He's interested in a lot of things by his 5 rankings, and I don't know him personally, but he just seemed to have a lot of experiences with housing and students, and I just thought being that we didn't have any other applicants, I thought he would fit well with there, and that is his
And what-
number 2.
And was there a second?
Did Commissioner Jacob, did you second that?
You seconded? Okay. So I guess, are we looking for another nomination to potentially, or do we settle the issue of Mr. Pospisil first? Commissioner Olson,
I thought we were on personal board of
Appeals, we are.
Right.
Okay, not Semco.
If it's in order, I would nominate Meg Krinky.
Okay. Is there a second? Let's see, how do we do this? Should we do one and then settle it and then move to the other, or
Sure.
do them both at once?
Let's do one and settle it.
Okay,
then.
all
I'll
right.
hold my motion.
All right, somebody tell me if that's out of order. Okay, so we would be considering the appointment of Mr. Rick Pospisil to the Personnel Board of Appeals. It was a motion by Commissioner Ward, seconded by Commissioner Jacob. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. Okay. Motion fails.
I would nominate Meg Krinky to serve, to continue to serve on the Personnel Board of Appeal
As a reappointment.
as a
correct?
reappointment, yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so it was moved by Commissioner Kavesi, seconded by Commissioner Olson to reappoint Meg Krinky to the position she's currently in on the Personnel Board of Appeals. Any discussion? Commissioner Ward?
Unfortunately, I do not know who this person is. Yes, I know she was serving in a short-term capacity, so I can't support the candidate because I have no idea who they are or what their role is in the community.
Mr. Olson?
I just think it's just following the reappointment methodology that we do, that if they're interested, they are kind of given automatic considerations. So that's why I'm gonna do that.
Mr. Jacob?
I agree with Commissioner Olson, but I certainly understand that Commissioner Ward likes to do her homework. This name was not in front of us and she hasn't had the opportunity to review that, but I'll support the motion based on our past practice.
Okay. So we had, Commissioner Kavesi.
Yeah, I think we're following our reappointment policy and I appreciate that. We did have her information in front of us in November, so not that long ago, but not directly now, but.
Okay. Any other discussion? Otherwise, let's go ahead and vote on Ms. Krinky. All those in favor of her appointment to the Personnel Board of Appeals signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, she is appointed. Planning Commission is done. Semstra. Commissioner Ward.
Madam Chair, SEMTRA is a little bit different board than our other boards as advisory. SEMTRA is a separate entity, and we have each county, because it's multi-county, and we have each county has representation, and it's very, it's more of a finance board than just an advisory board. I mean, a lot of money is decided as far as spending on housing projects and Section 8 voucher systems and things like that. So I just strongly feel that Amanda Headland with her habitat experiences would bring a lot to the table for not only Winona County, but Wabasha and Goodhue County. But with previous comments with Mr. Pospisil wanting to serve in some capacity, I do have to ask, I know on the Health and Human Service Advisory, we had a slight discussion at the last meeting who is eligible. And I don't think there's any magic number that we have on that advisory. In fact, I think a lot of people were asking maybe for more people to serve in that capacity. Am I right, Karen? So I think maybe we could possibly put Mr. Pospisil, if there's strong feelings, put him on the Health and Human Service Advisory. And then I advocate for Amanda Headland for the SEMTRA board. So I will nominate, with that said, I guess I want to ask Karen Sanis if there is, did I understand it right? There was a feeling that we maybe wanted more citizens to volunteer on that committee? Yes or no? Did I?
Yes.
Yes, there has been some discussion regarding having a broader community involvement with our Health and Human Services Advisory.
Right.
But really wanting to do, I think we'll get a broader scope. I think we focus so much on juveniles.
Yes, yeah,
At
yeah.
this time, I think looking, maybe looking at our health or housing or other issues too, that we should be addressing with those.
Yeah. And from my discussion with Mr. Pascapal, he has housing and he has workforce development and he has the university connection. So I think, just my short time talking to him, he would be good on the health and human service. So, but we can address that. But I would nominate Amanda Headland for SEMSHA.
I'll second that nomination too.
So Commissioner Ward has moved to nominate Amanda Headland, and Commissioner Jacob has seconded that nomination. Any other conversation or discussion? Then all those who are in favor of appointing Amanda Headland to the SEMSHA board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. So Ms. Headland is on the SEMSHA board now. I think that's actually a really good appointment.
So if we can, Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms.
then how do we make it happen to make another appointment to the Health and Human Service Advisory? Is that just at our discretion? Like I say, I don't think there's any magic number for that particular board.
Do we, my question would be if we need to do any investigation to find out if there is a rule obstructing us from making that change. Commissioner Jacob.
Well, my only concern is that the applicant didn't apply for that board.
Yeah,
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, his name is, that's one of his,
He was one of his lower choices.
right, but he did again.
Yeah, and I wasn't,
Okay,
he's unallowed.
It was
Yep.
his last choice.
It wasn't.
Right. But with discussion
time
with him,
applied.
it was just, and I don't need to put words in his mouth, but it was just, he was interested in lots of things. And so it was how he ranked them.
I'm interested in an opinion about the ability for us to do that, if we need to delay it and check, or if we know.
The China virus organization, Donald Trump has to deal with it. He unleashes Operation Rescue because he knows vaccine.
Hi, Ken. It's nice to see you.
I would say, let's just appoint him and then, and
Oh, I'm sorry. You're actually talking about me?
no.
But yes,
Yeah, good morning.
just because we see you, yes.
Oh, okay. I just thought I'd stop in and say hi.
Can't stay away.
Good
huh?
morning.
All right, thanks.
I'm looking for a recommendation from administration or from the county attorney about checking on it first, or if we can do it, or perhaps Ms. Samus.
Yeah, I don't think there's a limit on the number of people on the advisory board. So.
From my recollection, there is
Yeah,
no
yeah.
limit.
No.
And this will be one of the big things I think that we've had these limited discussions regarding that, but yeah, there's no limit.
Was that a motion then?
Yeah,
Yeah, was that a
I'll
motion?
move to put Mr. Pascapal on Health and Human Service Advisory.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Mr. Jacob. So Commissioner Ward has moved to appoint Rick Pospisil to Health and Human Services Advisory with a second from Commissioner Jacob. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I would note that the last appointment is the Stockton Rolling Stone, Minnesota City Watershed District. There was a vacancy and there were no applications, so I guess that has to be reposted.
We're always advertising for that one.
Okay, so the next order of business is our appointments to committees and boards as county commissioners. And my recollection of this is that this is a little more informal and that we don't have a particularly set process. Mr. Ward? I mean, yeah,
I apologize. I've been going back to the citizen on the Stockton Rolling Stone. Mr. Haxton was up for reappointment, and again, sometimes I don't know who chairs, who in staff, do we have a staff person appointed to that committee? What we depend on is our staff people to advise the citizens to reapply. And I don't know.
Lou Overhog used to, would see his name come up as the staff that would attend from
Okay,
time to time.
so I guess the question is, did Mr. Haxton know that he was eligible for reappointment? I don't know the gentleman.
Madam Chair,
Yes, or I'm sorry.
uh, yeah,
It's
and
just
and
that-
Commissioner Ward, of course.
Ms.
So
Kelly.
Planning and Environmental Services staff does not run the reappointment and or the process that's run through the Personnel Department. And so, I don't want to step on their toes by, letting people know, and then, what if we miss someone? So they have a consistent policy and procedures for doing that, and we don't get in the middle of it. Thank you.
So by consent, could we ask administration or HR to reach out to this individual, Mr. Haxton,
Haxton, Haxton,
and make sure that he was aware he was eligible, he or she, he was eligible for reappointment?
Bill,
Yeah.
right.
Bill? Okay.
okay.
I'm
and then
okay
we
with
can-
that. Anyone? Okay.
That's
we'll do
one
that
we've
by
had
consent.
difficulty getting applicants.
All right. So now we're on
Okay.
item
Thank you.
8.3, which is our board appointment. I guess I could start by saying, is anyone interested in serving on the SEMCAC board?
You do an excellent job. I would advocate that you maintain that role.
They do mostly meet by Zoom these days.
I know they meet up in my district, but it conflicts with multiple township board meetings that I try to attend, and I feel like I need to keep myself available. So I'm not, I don't want to take that on. I would
Oh, yeah.
offer that I want to maintain all the boards that I'm on. And I still would like to get the Winlac away from Commissioner Kavesi.
No doubt.
If she'd like to lighten her workload, I'd be happy to.
No, actually, I'm fine with Winlock. They're moving along quite smoothly, so thank you. You're alternate, so that's really good to have you lined up.
I am also willing to, aside from SEMCAC, keep all the appointments.
Yeah, I would keep my current assignments.
Commissioner Ward.
I do ask that we just correct one of the titles. About halfway down the page, it's Minnesota Counties Intergovernmental Trust. We dropped the insurance part a couple years ago, so we have to have the right name for that. And that, again,
MCIT.
MCIT. And if somebody else would like to be the delegate to that, that's the one meeting in December at the annual meeting, because I do sit on the board, so they don't feel it's a conflict of interest, but if somebody else would like to sit and have the vote out in the audience,
That would be allowed.
yeah, that would be allowed. If anybody's interested in that one. Otherwise, the other committees I'm on, I'm good with. Thank you.
Commissioner Olson.
No
Okay.
proposal for changes? No?
So I think by consent, then we're going to keep all the committee appointments that we have, acknowledging that Commissioner Jacobs' request. Anything else? Otherwise, we're down to, I think, the only person who had something was the county attorney. Am I right? Do I remember that?
I think so. I just wanted to announce a follow-up to the opioid settlement. I got an email from Julie Ring yesterday that all of the Minnesota counties have signed up. So that was a great deal of work, particularly I think on Julie's part. So everybody signed up, and Minnesota should be in line to get the max on the settlement funds.
I have a question. It was reported on the news that there must be another settlement working its way through the system, and the judge threw it out because
The Sackler family.
yes.
Yeah, I'm watching that. I'm not sure what's happening on that. The settlements that you voted on did not
Were
include that.
Okay.
But
So-
that could be another chunk of change, I think, obviously. But But yeah, I mean, they went through bankruptcy, and I think it was the bankruptcy judge too who had some issues with
They
them trying to
sheltered some
protect too many
money.
assets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. So
But
it's still
yeah.
ongoing as far as I know. Yeah. So that was it. That
Thank
was
you.
my last radiation treatments today. So
Congratulations.
Ring the bell.
Yeah.
they told me to ring it
It's a
really
great
loud because they
feeling.
want the technicians want me to break it so they can get a new bell. I'm like, okay, I'll try.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.